Hi everyone, welcome to Raja's Career Tips. Actually, since most of the business school entrance exams results are getting out, like CAT, MAT, CMAT, SNAP, ZAT, etc. I thought in Raja's Career Tips, I will actually today share about what is the best way to actually apply for the business school that you want to take your admission for your MBA program. And this is just my thoughts, so you can consult others and you might get more interesting and important suggestions. But these are some things that I thought I will share, and it might be of some small help when you're preparing for your admissions. Actually, when you get your results, in most of the cases, you think that let me select a business school which is reporting very good placement statistics, a very good average salary, etc. But I just wanted to call out that yes, that's an important statistics, and many of the business schools do publish that. But since it's an MBA program, it's a 2-year investment, and in some cases a 1-year investment, because there are some 1-year MBAs as well nowadays in India. But nonetheless, since it's an investment of time on your side, so I think it needs a little bit of more investigation beyond just looking at the placement statistics that the schools report, because many a times there are actually far more things that we should consider before selecting the school where we want to actually pursue our MBA program. And this is just some views that I am sharing from my personal experience, and like I said, you guys are obviously, and you should consult as many people as you can before you make this very, very important decision in your life. As a first step, what I would suggest is depending on your score, and nowadays there are a lot of web pages, blogs, and a lot of tutorials who actually can guide you on this. But depending on your score, it's very critical that you first create a circumference of about 20-25 business schools where you think with your score you will be able to get an admission, because there are like a couple of hundred business schools in the stack rank, right? So it's not possible for you to concentrate across them. So it's very critical that depending on your score, whichever score you are primarily leaning upon. For example, you might be leaning upon CAT, you might be leaning upon SNAP or ZAT or CMAT, etc., or MAT. Leaning upon that score, or leaning upon scores from all the exams you have taken, select circumference of the top 20-25 business schools that you want to apply for. And after that, I would actually recommend that instead of looking at the placement statistics, you actually look at a few other things that might be extremely beneficial in your selection of the business school. And that's where I am calling out the 10 tips from that I would actually recommend you to look at before you make that decision. The first one, most importantly, is actually the specialization that you would like to pursue. Irrespective of whether you are a fresher or you have some years of work experience, I'm sure you would be having some thinking around the area where you would like to specialize in your MBA program. For example, will you specialize in sales, or in marketing, or in strategy, or in human resource, or in finance? Or you might be even interested in even more specific areas of specialization. For example, you want to build a career in analytics, or you want to build a career in market research, or you want to build a career in compensation, or you want to build a career, let's say, in big data, or maybe in investment banking, or maybe in retail banking, or maybe in treasury, etc. So if you have some idea on where you want to build your career in, I think that's a very important starting point, because you then need to see within your selected list of 20-25 schools where you want to apply, which are the schools who actually have very good faculty in these domains, and which are the schools who get very good guest faculty or very good external organizations who come and talk to the students on these topics. Because and this is available in their websites, they do call it out in their faculty section, in their guest faculty section. Most of the good schools have websites and you can get those information. You can actually study the bios of the professors and the kind of work they're doing. You can study their LinkedIn profiles. But that's a first starting point of the investment I would say you need to do, and you need to spend some time on within your selected 20 schools, which are the schools where you'd like to actually spend this time. And it's the starting point. I'm telling you, it's going to be a very critical point in your selection. And even if you later on decide that you will not specialize in that area, you will move into a different area, but this research will help you, because it will give you a very good idea about the faculty of the schools where you want to pursue your MBA program. Believe me, in these 2 years, the faculty and the input that they give through the teaching is very critical. And those are the means actually. The placement data is actually the end outcome, and that too, it's the end outcome only for the first job that you are getting. Like, you will have a 30-year career after you finish your MBA, right? So the placement statistics is really a very small micro outcome of the 2-year effort that you will be putting on your MBA program. So that's the first starting point. Number one, tip number one, really research on the faculty and the specialization that you want to do, and which are the schools in your selected list that seems to stand out. In terms of number two, you also need to see that what are the kind of industry interfaces that your school has. For example, what kind of people do they get the students, do they give the students a chance to interact with during their 2-year program? Because that gives you an exposure to the practical world. Well, in India, 50 to 60% of the students actually who pursue their business programs are actually freshers. Unlike in the international programs, wherein most of the students who actually pursue a business masters have years of work experience. So in India, this industry interface is even more important. Like, how many guest lectures do the schools organize? Typically, they happen after the classes, in the early part of the evenings. Sometimes even during daytimes, the faculties invite guest lecturers. So depending on the industry interface that the schools have, they actually get very good guest speakers, and these guest speakers actually play a very important role in your learning. Because they expose you to the practical world. So that's the second point, I would say, the industry interface that the school has. Number three, I would call out as an important criteria to select your business school is the infrastructure of the school. What I mean by that is, what kind of libraries the school has. Do they actually give you exposure to all the top magazine journals? Do they have really a good collection of books? Because business school is an atmosphere wherein you need to get exposed to a wide learning and also a fast learning. When I say wide learning, that means you need exposure to more materials, more books, more journals, more avenues for you to pick up things, and also the depth increases with that. So does the school have the infrastructure with a fantastic library, a lot of books, journals, etc.? Does it have a good digital library? So everyone nowadays will have a laptop or a computer who is pursuing their MBA, but does the school have a very good digital library? Because if it has a good digital library, it will give you exposure to all of the international journals like Elsevier, JSTOR, Scopus, etc. And these are very critical. So while you will study, let's say, Philip Kotler for your marketing management, but you can also refer to many of the journals, at least at a high level, from all of these databases to understand a little more, like what is happening in the world of marketing today, which might be a new learning and new exposure beyond your books. So does the school give you a fantastic infrastructure? And this infrastructure, besides the library and the digital libraries and the computer systems, etc., besides that, obviously other things like your gyms, your hostel facilities, your meal facilities, like the how spacious are the classrooms, the Wi-Fi's, like the hostels. And these are very important because you will be spending like a couple of years in that place. So the standard of living in those 2 years are important. So you need to give some attention in terms of the infrastructure that the school is providing to you. Number four, I would say, is how multicultural is the business school where you are applying. So what I mean by that is, what kind of students actually generally enroll in the school. Those are the data that are also typically available in the websites of the schools. For example, what is the ratio of males, females, what is the ratio of the backgrounds, how many students are coming from science, engineering, humanities, other functions, the years of work experience, the diversity. If you can get some idea about the representation of the school from different parts of India, because keep in mind one thing: when you get into a business career, you will actually work in an organization, be it in India or be it somewhere abroad. If you get a chance to work somewhere outside of India, you'll always be interacting with people. Communications, stakeholder management are some things that will be very, very critical for you as you get into your work life. So it's great to actually get exposed to that in your business school. Obviously, you would have done your undergrad, many of you would have come here after a few years of work experience, but those 2 years, the more you get a chance to interact in a very multicultural atmosphere with different types of people, different backgrounds, it actually really widens your perspective, widens your learning, and you will really have a nice time. And you don't know, this is actually a very deep subconscious grooming that you will be going through in your 2 years before you jump into your work world. So that, I would say, is the fourth point I would call out. The fifth point, which is kind of connected to this, is what is the location of your business school? Amongst the schools that you have chosen, what are the different locations that they have? And I have no reservation on any location in India, but the thing is, for example, if the school is in a Mumbai versus if the school is in, let's say, some city like Ranchi or Mysore, or it's just that the chances of more interactions that you will be able to get in a more commercial location increases. That's because it's easier to get an external speaker into the school. It's easier for you to go to an event which is happening in a nearby other school. It's just logistically easier. It's easier for industry to come and interact with the school. It's easier for the alumni to come and interact in the school. So location actually plays an important role. It's easier for a company to come and visit the school for an internship recruitment or for a finals recruitment. So I have no reservation for any cities as such, no negative feelings about any cities, but it's just that the more commercial cities, like typically the top cities, the top metros or near metros like Delhi, Mumbai, Gurgaon, Noida, Bangalore, Hyderabad, Calcutta, Chennai. These are the cities where Ahmedabad, these are the cities Lucknow, where you can actually, it's be easier for the interactions. But the other locations wherein we have fantastic business schools, nonetheless, there are some IIMs which are coming up in outside of these top locations. They are also very good in infrastructure. It's just that they have to put a little more effort to increase the engagement with the industry, with external speakers, with the alumni, etc. Because people might have to take multiple flights. It would be, they have to plan earlier. A guest lecturer or a guest professor or an international speaker might have to make that additional effort, and they are doing that to reach these business schools as well. But the main locations in India, and that kind of is applicable for anywhere in the world, for example, is critical. So have a look at the location and then make a judgment in terms of which is the location which really fits your interest area, because a location will also have an impact on the class mix, on the number of people and engagements you will be able to have. And if you on your own want to do some networking beyond the school during these 2 years, obviously location in the top 10-15 cities of India will give you that extra chance to step out of the school after your class hours or during the weekends to network beyond the school. So location plays an important role. So that, I would say, is the fifth thing that I would put into my list of 10. The sixth thing that I will also call out is the reach of the school in terms of events. Like, what kind of events do the school engage with? Like, do the school give the chance to the students to participate in other schools' events, in business school competitions, in business case competitions, in essay writing competitions, etc., etc. So which are the different events that the school allow you to participate, because it increases it gives you a more chance to interact in engagements beyond the school, and that kind of also gets you very strongly ready to face unknown audiences, increases your communications, gives you confidence on applying your learning in many of these competitions, and actually gives you the exposure to other business schools, gives you interactions with other students in other schools, gives you engagements with corporates, because most of the judges and the jury that actually evaluate these events are from the corporate world or other faculty from other schools. So it just increases your exposure. So that, I would say, is the sixth thing, that what kind of events and exposure did the school give you. And again, these are all of this information you will actually get if you research more about the schools where you would like to apply. Like, take those 25 and research your 25 schools on all of these parameters before you make your final decision that this is where I want to take my admission. The next point, which I think is the seventh point, I would say, is what kind of student activities happen in the school beyond academia. That would be my seventh point. What I mean by that is, what kind of student fests the school organize. Typically, most business schools organize 4 or 5 events every year, at least the good ones, and that gives a lot of organization and management expertise to the students, because most of the heavy lifting are done by the students in terms of getting sponsors, creating the itinerary of the event, inviting the guests, creating the planning for the event, etc., etc. So what kind of student activities happen in your school is very critical, because you get a chance to experience those events in the first hand by being in the organizing committee, by playing a big role in organizing those events. So these are like real-time managerial experiences you are having while spending your 2 years in the business school, or your 1 year in the business school if it's a 1 year program. So that is actually a fantastic exposure that you can get if you join a school which has very robust activities. The eighth point I would like to call out is the student exchange programs that the schools have with international schools. While some of you would not avail it, some of you might be willing to avail it. What are the exchange connections that the schools have with international schools? Like, there are some fantastic international schools where if you spend 1 term out of your 2 years, the global exposure that you will get in terms of, again, the multicultural exposure, getting some learnings from a global perspective from international faculty, mixing with international students, studying in a new location which is outside of India, that opens up your horizon really, really well. So do check that if you want to pursue 1 term of an international exchange, so you really need to select a school which has good connections on international exchanges. So that's actually the 8th criteria I will select to understand which school I would like to pursue my MBA from. The 9th criteria, which I think is very, very critical, and I kind of give that criteria a little more weightage than the eventual placements, is actually the internship. That's because that's my window of applying my skills and really understand where I fit in the corporate world in my 2-year internship experience that I will go through after my first year. So I really put some importance in terms of selecting the school basis the internship data. So do check what kind of internships the school offer, what kind of companies come to recruit students for a summer internship, and the better the companies that come to recruit for summer internship, the better will be your exposure and understanding. And one good thing is, nowadays many companies really watch the students and their work during the summer internships, and they give things like pre-placement offers, pre-placement interview opportunities. So it's actually great if you land up with a great internship, and that opens the door for your future career, because that's far more evaluating in nature for the organizations. That's because they get to see you for 2.5 months, and they give more weightage to that, more than just an interview which can last for 1 or 2 hours. So an internship is a very critical thing. So do check in your shortlisted schools, how are the internship activities going on? Like, what kind of companies come, what kind of functions come, do they align with the function where you want to do your MBA? For example, if you want to do an MBA in finance, a lot of finance companies come for internships in that school. So that's kind of a good indicator for you that, yes, I'll get a good opportunity, let me go for it. The final one I would place an importance in shortlisting my school is a very hygienic one, and it's obviously the tuition fees and the expenses I will incur while doing my MBA program. So after I go through all of these, I kind of make a stack rank. In my shortlisted 20 schools, you can do a stack rank of what would be your most desired 5, and then the next 5, and then the final 10. So you can make your stack ranks basis this 10 criteria that I just shared with you. And then the final criteria you can also use as a lens is, can I check what kind of fees do the schools charge? And then you can make a bet, given your affordability, given how much money you would like to spend on this MBA program, how much burden of loan you want to take, etc., etc. So to check the scoping of the fees, the scoping of the living expenses, and if they have really some genuine opportunities for getting some scholarships, etc. So to check that criteria on the fees. So to summarize, basically what I talked about are actually 10 things you would look at before shortlisting your business school. So first, you kind of shortlist your 2025 schools depending on the scores that you have got in your entrance exams. And once you have shortlisted those larger set of 2025 schools, then you use a lens of 10 criteria to stack rank those schools. And they are seeing the functions and specializations, number 1, number 2, getting a gauge on the faculty, number 3, checking the infrastructure of the school, number 4, checking the multicultural atmosphere of the school, number 5, the location of the school, number 6, the events and the reach of the school and the exposure that the school gives you beyond the school's atmosphere, number 7, the kind of students activities that happen in the school and you get to experience them by organizing them on your own. Number 8, the kind of exchange program, engagements and collaborations that the school have with international business schools of repute. Number 9, what kind of internships the school actually gives you exposure to, what kind of companies visit them. And number 10 is, how much will it cost, how much will it hit on your wallet or your parents' wallet for you to pursue this MBA, and are there opportunities to get some scholarships, discounts, basis your academic performance, etc., etc. So these are my top 10. And after this, once you shortlist the schools, really prepare well for group discussions and interviews and try to get your dream admission. And then if you have a few admit letters, as a final check, you can maybe check what are the ultimate placement statistics of the school. But please do not make a decision of shortlisting the school where you will spend your 2 years or 1 year for earning your MBA just seeing on the placement stats. Please make a more holistic decision using these 10 tips that I shared, and I hope you liked it. And do consult more people, do consult your teachers, your guardians, your seniors, some of your alumni who would have pursued MBAs in the past before making this important decision. And I will come up with more videos in future on more tips on more areas. For example, what are the top 10 tips to prepare for group discussions? What are the top 10 tips to prepare for your interviews? What are the top 10 tips if you want to study in a specific school, etc., etc. I hope you liked it. And if you did not like it, that is also absolutely fine, but I really want to wish you lots of good luck in this season of admissions, and I hope you make a fantastic admit offer and pursue a fantastic, really valuable master's program in business administration and get a chance to get into the corporate world and enjoy lots of success in the next few decades. Good luck.